Should I be having a process where I have a person? Because oftentimes people don't know how to create a process, so they just keep hiring and they keep hiring and they keep hiring.
So many times people just look at customer service as like just somebody to answer a phone and deal with a customer, handle a refund and get them off the phone as like an expense.
If we just sat down and thought it through and really collectively spoke about what to try, you can freaking solve almost any problem that's been sitting for 6 months, a year. So let's go back to where are you spending money and understanding where you're spending money. So the first thing is,
so today we're diving into profit boosting strategies for visionary entrepreneurs. And really we're going to focus on how to elevate your margins without sacrificing quality. And I think this is probably one of the areas where like a lot of entrepreneurs, they're looking at their business and they don't realize why this is really that important, or they don't think about how important it really is. You and I talk about like when we come in with clients on the operations side, there's one thing that we really look at, and it's what's their profit margin for their business. Tell me, why is that such a big deal? Like why, for our audience, like why do we focus so much on that specifically?
Sure. So I can make $8 million a month in revenue, but spend 8.1 to run the company. And then I've paid to get out of bed every morning. So the profit margin is money we keep. Mm-hmm. And at different points in your business, different percentages are healthy. At scale, it's difficult to have a high profit margin, particularly when you're scaling quickly. And so understanding where you're at is like the first thing you need to do. But I look at the profit margin because it's the KPI that tells me the most about the business. Mm-hmm. If the profit margin is high and healthy and consistent, then I pretty much am doing my job, I'm good. When it starts to dip or it's not consistent or it's not where I need it to be or want it to be, then I need to look at other facets in the business to tell me what's wrong. And so you kind of branch out your KPIs and branch out your KPIs and branch out your KPIs till you find the problem. We're looking for a couple of things for our clients, and I'll run through them really quickly, and then we'll go through each one separately. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Where are you spending your money? Every dollar has a name. So one of the first things that I do, because I'm a chart person, not really a spreadsheet person, is I have a chart made with colors on where money's being spent. Fulfillment, manufacturing, labor, software purchases.
Draw me a picture.
Right. Sure. Where are we spending our money? And then the next thing is softwares and platforms. I want them all listed out. I want to know what they can do, what they're capable of doing that we're utilizing them for, and then what they're capable of doing that we're not utilizing them for. And I look across the entire company, and usually they're double spending. Almost always they're double spending. Sometimes people are way more than double spending. But our softwares and our platforms are usually where I find our biggest opportunities for profit margin improvement. The next place I look is customer service. And I can't wait to talk about that because there's lots of money in customer service. I know. Fulfillment. Yeah. Fulfillment costs are usually pretty high. And it's just usually because there's no real process or follow through there. Data. Where is my revenue going? Which is very similar to where are you spending your money, but it's different. And I'll explain how it's different in a moment. And then labor. Should I be having a process where I have a person? Because oftentimes people don't know how to create a process, so they just keep hiring and they 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 keep hiring. We saw that. We walked into a company with 23, many times, and we saw that we walked into a company with 23 people, all earning between $55,000 and $105,000 per year. We knocked that down to 12 people in 2 months, and we scaled
Tripled the business, right?
We scaled it by double that same month. That same month. We definitely well more than tripled that business, but we doubled it the month that we cut them from 23 to 12. So that's how I look at things. So let's go back to where are you spending money and understanding where you're spending money. So the first thing is often we all get this way. I don't have the money to pay for this right now, so I'm just going to find a way to rob Peter to pay Paul for the moment. And that gets very expensive. Yeah. And I didn't realize how expensive it gets until we didn't get into that situation, but we got into the situation of clients paying us late. And $50,000 isn't the same when you're paid on time versus when you're paid months later. It's just because it's just very odd to me. I remember saying that to you. I was like, I was thinking about it as money in the bank. We didn't actually need the money. It didn't seem that terrible of a thing to float.
Okay, fine.
The client.
What's the big deal?
But then when you get the money, it's like, wait a minute, this isn't the same value that it was 6 months ago
Mm-hmm.
when we should have been getting it. And I still don't know why, but it's true.
Yeah.
And so where are you spending your money? Where is it sitting? Where is it being allocated and deployed to? And what's your return on that?
Mm-hmm.
I have struggled for a long time with being really good at finance. As a COO, you kind of have to have some idea.
Yeah.
And I do have some idea,
Yeah.
but I've struggled in finance more than anything else.
You've grown a lot in that too.
Yeah. I believe
Yeah.
so, but one thing that I do know is where the money is being spent.
Right.
In every business that I oversee, I know where money's going. I know the output that the money creates,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
I'm going to just pop in because
Sure.
I feel like this seems so overly basic at some times, but then we come into businesses and
We come into businesses
all the
that
time.
40 years in business, 213 entities, don't know how to look at their finances.
or they don't have good financials, or they're not having
Right.
the information or
Right.
looking at it regularly. Just getting the basics of your actual finances, your financial statements, and having a little bit of humility to just go to your bookkeeper or accountant or anybody to say, okay, tell me what I'm looking at. How should I look at this? And really begin to study and understand your finances for your business. Because I feel like there's so many people that just run it, well, I'll just throw more sales at it. For some people, like, that can work, but it's so not efficient. Like you're saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul, but not realizing it. And I feel like if they spend a little bit of time to just get a basic understanding on their financial statements, that they'll have a cleaner idea, and then they can see where the money's actually going. And it doesn't have to be a ton of time, but maybe like an hour a month, spending a time with a call, running through like where things are at, looking at your business. It seems basic, but I feel like it's missed by so many people.
Know where you're spending your money. The next thing, I just talked about this briefly, but softwares and platforms.
Mm-hmm.
We have a guy on our team, Saka, who does a phenomenal job of this. He creates a tech stack.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody should have a tech stack, but they should go a little bit further. So don't just put what that platform is being utilized for within your company today. You want to put everything that's capable of, because you don't know where your company is going in the future. Your staff, your different departments, instead of going and saying, hey, does anybody have a tool that, I don't know, and does anybody have a tool that creates videos from AI prompts?
Right.
Well, maybe they have a tool already that is creating titles, like Flicky creates titles for us. And one day I was playing with it and I figured out that it would actually make whole videos with like stock images. I don't even have, right.
Yeah.
And so just having, that was probably the worst example, but just having like, what does your CRM do? What is your project management tool? What can you house in there?
What else
like
is
the amount of
capable
people that have all their SOPs in an SOP creator, and then they have ClickUp or Rike or Asana, and their SOPs are not in there. They could have just put them in the first place in their project management tool and saved that platform. So it's just important to review your softwares and your platforms. And we do so every 6 months because things change. They add features, they take features away. Our business changes.
How you're utilizing it at the time changes.
Who we have working for us changes. We didn't used to have writers and editors and graphic designers on our team a year ago.
Right. Not at all.
Now we have a whole creative department, right?
Yeah.
So what tools do I need for them?
Changes.
And I can get this, but this can get out of hand really quickly because I've got a graphic designer, 2 editors,
licenses for all
and
of
a
these
copywriter, and they all have licenses for all kinds of stuff. And what can they intermingle that'll work well for them? And then this is, I think, our favorite topic, customer service. People try and skip on customer service all the time. And if you are trying to create a product, a brand, a company, a business that will be around for a long time and scale, customer service is your best friend.
I'm just going to take a little tangent on that because it's like so many times people just look at customer service as like just somebody to answer a phone and deal with a customer, handle a refund, and get them off the phone as like an expense. And like we've leveraged it many times, so many freaking times, with systems are down, checking links, getting a pulse on what's actually happening well before anybody else even realizes what's happening, and giving them a format and a path to be able to communicate that properly up the chain so we can action that into something that saves money from just being bled on ads that go nowhere, on links that are broken.
But it's so much more than that, right? So like, let's say you're doing 10 million a month, let's say. What are your chargebacks and your refunds?
Right.
Right. And so what does customer service cost?
Right.
Probably a lot less than your chargebacks and your refunds. And we've seen this over and over again, but people still don't want to pay the bill. It's crazy to me. Okay, so you're getting $250,000 in chargebacks, chargeback fees, refunds, refund fees
Cost of product, everything else,
every single month. But you don't want to pay $100,000 a month for your customer service agency. That's decreased that by leaps and bounds. Right. And then on top of that, we've trained them to sell when people call. So they're also making you money. And then on top of all of that, they're also monitoring your tech infrastructure. Right. They're monitoring your merchant accounts. They're monitoring your marketing because they're asking questions on the calls that they've been trained to ask that can get added into marketing. Like, hey, this customer called and they were asking questions. I asked them, this is something I always say, if a customer calls you about a product and they didn't buy the product, they wanted to call you for questions, I want you to make sure you write down all those questions and I want you to ask them, what was the thing that kept you from buying after they purchased? You always wait after they purchased. What was the thing that kept you from buying online that made you feel like you needed to call me? We really want to know because we want to enhance our customer experience for the next person. And the amount of data that you will pull monthly off that is
pays for itself.
Nuts. Do you remember The Nun?
Yes.
There was a VSL we had worked on many years ago, and we were getting all of these customer service calls complaining about, this is like a millisecond shot where the VSL like fanned on a nun and it pissed people off. It really upset people. We won't go into the whole thing, the whole details of everything, but it really upset people. And customer service is the one who told us.
Yeah.
We had another client who had a massive decrease in subscribers for their email list, and it just kept happening. And I had mentioned it to my customer service lead, and she was like, I've sent this to you guys like 10 times. It was the list manager was sending out things on the list that didn't fit the demographic.
The brand.
It sold well.
Yeah.
And we made decent money on the CPA, but what it was taking from the list wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
And it was customer service who realized that. So customer services, they should be a revenue producing department for you. And by revenue producing, I'm talking retention, but you have to have retention strategies. When people call in for refunds, having all kinds of ideas on, in lieu of a refund, get this product, which is an info product and cost you nothing, or a partial refund, or another product that you can send them for $12 instead of paying, giving them back $69 plus all the fees plus the affiliate commission, right? Or whatever it costs you for traffic. So customer service is a big one. I'll talk about customer service all day when it comes to profits. We have increased people's profits at unbelievable amounts by leveraging good customer service. Fulfillment's another one. Fulfillment's one that, can really, really, really hurt your company. And the biggest part of fulfillment isn't actually fulfilling the products, it's inventory control. The amount of people we work with that prior to us coming on ran out of product and had no idea. They sold stuff, had to return it, had to refund it rather, and then wait 6 weeks till it was back in stock. Or CRM doesn't really match what the fulfillment house is saying, but you weren't tracking it for 2 years.
All the time.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory every year we deal with just is missing. It's just gone. Where did it go? My favorite is when we have way more inventory than we're supposed to have. That's my absolute favorite. It's concerning because I'm pretty convinced it's because we get returns that we're not refunded. So that's what makes the most sense to me, right? In any event, fulfillment, there's just so much opportunity. And so we've seen it where fulfillment made up 30% of someone's revenue. We've seen it where fulfillment was the cause of massive chargebacks because they didn't have the ability to get things shipped out timely. Or they were sending out the wrong things.
Or the product.
Do you remember? Do you remember? It was Christmas like 2 years ago. It was supposed to be a skincare product that was in a beautiful box for your wife. It was like, it wasn't your wife. It was like people could buy it. It was online. It was not a client of ours, but it was a friend of ours. And so they sold this skincare line, and it was like face wash. There was like exfoliating thing. I don't know. Gabe does all that for me. I have no idea how any of that works, but it was this beautiful box with this beautiful bow. And so it came wrapped. Mm-hmm. And the fulfillment house also had another client who was doing a wrapped gift, which is a weight loss detox product. And so 4,000 orders over the month of December went out with the weight loss product instead of the skincare. And so there
as a gift,
it was pre-wrapped. So you didn't even like open it. So all of these customers were calling in, flipping out because their wives opened a weight loss box for Christmas instead of this beautiful high-end, very luxury skincare brand. Yeah. Fulfillment did that. Fulfillment 4,000. Imagine what that was like. Not only refunding all that those people, but you lost those customers forever.
Right. Well, and how many people? Because we've done this too. Is like we come on with a client and they've never been to their fulfillment center. They've never seen like how things are being delivered, or packaged, pick, pack, and ship. Right. What the line looks like.
Right. Never. Have you ever asked your fulfillment house where your SOP is? Yeah. Where's the SOP for fulfilling my product? Do you know how many have been able to give them to me over the years?
Almost none.
One.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
One
Most
ever.
Of them are like, what's an SOP?
Right. Most are like, what's an SOP? A lot of them will tell me that they have SOPs and that they can't show me, which is just a lie. A lie. Others will have SOPs, but they're clearly outdated, extremely old. It's in a book that no one's looked at in a long time.
For a separate warehouse location that they used to have.
Right. And so just important to understand what's going on in your fulfillment house, how they're working with you. And sometimes saving 25 cents a package will cost you a lot of money. Yeah. So making sure you're getting into bed with the right company is really important. And the other part I want people to be thinking about is, where do the majority of my orders go?
Mm-hmm. Location-wise, physically.
Right. Yeah. And so if you have the majority of your clients are in the US, it's pretty easy, right? Yeah. Like you can pretty much fulfill anywhere. But if you have the majority of your client or even like 20 to 30% of your physical products are being shipped outside of the country, Europe, UK, South Africa, you want to make sure that they have partners that your product can be there so that it doesn't take 21 days as if they ordered off Temu or something, right? So that's fulfillment. The next one is, like, we're going to talk about data on this podcast a lot because data is so important. Right. And we are not in the direct response marketing business. We are not in the e-commerce business. We are in the data collection business. Every single one of us. Yeah. The subcategory is direct response. Yeah. The subcategory is e-commerce. The subcategory is media buyer. We're data. Know your data. People just don't know their data. Right. They just have no idea. And by the way, like you've seen me look at a spreadsheet. Yes. That's fun.
Yeah, well, not so much. No.
I love data though.
I know.
I'm a big data person. And so what have I done? I've surrounded myself with people that know how to pull and analyze that data and feed it to me in a way that I can absorb it, understand it, and then execute and implement on it. And I'm not just talking about A/B split tests. That's great. But we can go like, seriously, $120,000 to $150,000 data person a year for your business will make your business millions of dollars. I assure you, millions.
But even though even though you say you don't like spreadsheets, like I've seen you pour through raw data files and you're looking for freaking patterns and different things that just stand out to you.
Don't ever tell anybody. I 100% pretend like I don't know how to do anything with the spreadsheet. Yeah. I absolutely know how to do a spreadsheet. But if I don't know how, someone else is going to do it. And I hate it. When they magically appear, if they're done right, they have to be done right. If it's just this nonsense raw data that's just there, like I need to be able to see them in a certain way. They have to be organized well. But yes, I will pour over a lot of data and see things that nobody can see, which it's just, I'm a pattern person.
But those patterns will stand out, but only if you're actually looking at the data.
But only if you're actually looking at the data. So having someone that pulls all the data, what kind of data am I talking about? Like, I'm not going to get like super, super granular, but there's so much that people don't understand about data. And again, we're going to talk about this a lot on this podcast, but I want to make sure that I'm just kind of, it's not just split testing, customer acquisition. Where are they coming from? Like truly, if you've got 10 affiliates, you probably have affiliate IDs. Those affiliates probably have different traffic sources. Are you tracking those different traffic sources?
Right.
Are they selling on Google Ads and on email? Are you separating the two with sub IDs to know what's coming in, so you know where to deploy resources?
Or when a problem's coming in, or when chargebacks are happening.
Right. And they're usually, when chargebacks are high, we can usually go in very quickly because we keep good data sets very quickly and say, this affiliate on this traffic source with this ad is the problem, cut it.
But everything else is good.
But everything else is good. And that's generally what it is. It's usually like one thing. And so having a good idea of data, how much of my revenue is allocated towards manufacturing? How much of my revenue is allocated towards customer service? How much is customer service creating in retention on my calls? How much is customer service being able to sell on upsells? How much am I making per affiliate on CPA? And so let me dive into that for a second, because I'm gonna go all the way out and I'll bring it back. So if Travis is sending me traffic and Richard's sending me traffic and Saka's sending me traffic, once they get onto my ESP, Maripost, Blastable, whatever you're using, once they get onto my ESP, how much is that person earning me in CPA on what other people are selling to them? Because sometimes people come on and their AOV is low and their CLTV, the way dummies calculated, is low. But true CLTV will actually factor all that in. So perhaps they didn't really dig my product line and they only bought like the core product for $60 and never really bought anything else from me. But maybe those people bought $5,000 worth of CPA. Not $5,000 worth, but maybe I got paid $5,000 over 6 months for that person. Should I continue to buy that traffic? Of course I should.
Right.
And so if you don't truly understand your data, if you don't actually understand your data, you think, well, I paid $60
and it cost
for
me.
The CPA. They only bought $60 and I had to fulfill it. This wasn't worth it for me. Because they never bought anything from me again. Okay. Well, what about from other people that you sent to them? What did that get equated to, right? And so
if you don't have a way to pull all that data together to look at it,
there's a million data sets I want to know. There's a million data sets I want to know. What does every ad bring in? What are the variables of the ads? But there's just so much. And when you get to a place, because not all companies are at a place that they can pay someone to scorch over data. But when you get to a place that you can have a data person, as long as you have the people to execute and implement what that data is telling you, the extraordinary speed in which you can move and scale is mind-blowing. And like we learned that we had a client who had 3 data people. We brought it down to 1. We gave them rules of what they needed to give us. And I learned so much about where people were that wanted to buy that product. And we didn't launch a bunch of products. We kept relaunching the same product with a new mechanism in a new region with new verbiage on the VSL.
And it impacted the marketing that we were doing in each of those places.
Right. And then we did split tests on each of those. Like, here's the region. Now let's process in that region's currency. Now let's speak in that region's metric system. So we're not saying that it's $29. We're saying it's, I don't know what it is,
pounds
31 pounds. I don't know. But you get the point. There's not exhaustion in trying to figure out what they're going to pay. There's not exhaustion in figuring out how much weight they're going to lose because we're speaking in their language. And then we're doing the whole set of split tests because they're a different culture. They're a different region. How do things relate to them differently? And we execute that way. Data Data's king. And the last one is labor, process, or people. If someone doesn't know how to create a process, what do? They hire. And oh my goodness, they don't create a process when the process is broken.
Right.
And so the reality is a lot of times you can get rid of a ton of labor through proper processes that are tested for effectiveness and efficiency. And it just saves so much time, energy, effort, but most of all money.
I feel like that's the same thing. So, because this is like employee inflation essentially, right? Like
right.
I don't know exactly, but I'm going to throw a body in, and it happens in employees. It happens with software. It happens with vendors. Mm-hmm. It's like, we'll try another vendor. We'll try another software service. We'll try another thing. And maybe that'll fix it, as opposed to really
sitting down and thinking through. One of my superpowers is I don't really know how to do very much, but one of my superpowers is getting people in a room that do know how to do something. And getting them to talk about what needs to be done, and then very aggressively moving because people don't want to
deal with that aggression.
I don't know why. No.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about, though. People don't want to say, I will go and try this to fix it. Let's try that. We should do this. No one wants to create a plan. People want to talk endlessly, nonsensically, by the way. That's not even a word, but it's nonsense. It's just nonsense. It drives me absolutely crazy. Let's talk forever why it doesn't work to try and find a way not to have to move forward. However, if we just sat down and thought it through and really collectively spoke about what to try, created an action plan, assigned it out, and then said, okay, we're going to talk on Friday. Everybody get there and done by Friday. Right. You can freaking solve almost any problem that's been sitting for 6 months, a year. But because no one just got everybody on a call and everybody was kind of like on their own island, chilling out, not really worried about the outcome because it wasn't their problem, right? So process is important. Process is so important. Really thinking through what is the fastest, most effective, most efficient way. I noticed I didn't say cheapest.
Right.
I didn't even say affordable. Right? What is the most effective, efficient way? Because if I'm doing it that way, it's going to pay me more than I'm going to pay for it anyway. So I'm not concerned with its price.
Yeah.
If you want to boost your profits, take the Profit Health Quiz. That's going to be in our free membership area. Take the quiz, and it's going to tell you where you're weak. Where you're weak, you can actually start looking into. When we put a spotlight or monitor anything, it improves. Yeah. So go ahead and take the quiz. Run through our checklist with your finance person or team. This could be a bookkeeper. Mm-hmm. For me, I would do it with Richard. He's our data guy. I would do it with Richard because he can see things that no one else can see. But run through our checklist and just understand where you're at. Get your bookkeeper to send you every subscription service you have. We have walked into, like, no kidding. Right. We walked into it was an $11 million a year. It's not even that big. That was big for us then. Back then. Yeah. Back then. But we walked into an $11 million a year company and found $101,000 that they were spending every single month on subscription services that they did not need or use. They would go buy other people's products and end up on their subscriptions. And just keep it forever. Yeah. Or they would buy platforms that they never used. They had four major CRMs. Right. And they were using Shopify because they couldn't figure out how to use them. So, like, literally $101,000 a month. And hopefully that's not you, but I bet you can find $2,000 to $5,000 a quarter. Easily if you review your subscription services. Have them pull everything that your credit cards and banks are paying out of your QuickBooks and do that. And then if you don't have QuickBooks, get QuickBooks. You need to have proper financial tracking. If you don't have proper financials, you're flying blind. You have no idea. Just because there's money in the bank doesn't mean there's actual money. It's so important. Get QuickBooks. It's like $40 to $70 a month.
And look, you're not alone. Like, there's so many people that are just going, oh, I have cash in the bank. I guess I'm doing fine. It may be a little outside your comfort zone, but just sitting down and looking through those. And like I said, being willing to ask the questions from your bookkeeper or accountant, CPA, tax advisor, anybody, to help you kind of better understand that. And then once you start to do that, you can, like Emma said, just grab a list, see why am I spending, not just like the line item of the category, software. Like, okay, I guess that's how much I'm spending on software. But like she was saying, like, break it down into like which software am I actually makes up this number, and then justifying, like, do I need this? Why do I need this? Could I use something else? Could I eliminate this? What would happen if I eliminated this? And like spending 15, 20, 30 minutes to go through that, depending on how big your company is, you'll identify those things pretty quickly.
Right. You'll spend 15, 20 minutes. You'll highlight the things that you're concerned with. You'll send it to your team, your vendors, whoever, and then they'll come back with answers. But they don't just say, yeah, I use this. You need to know what they're using it for and how much.
Right.
And so just to make this a little bit easier for everybody, because we do think that profits are important. Profits are the most important thing. That's why, impact profits. That's our why. Our why is our profits, because everything else is not ours. It's someone else's.
Somebody else.
So in our membership area, in our free members area, how to read your P&L, we have a little manual on that, and it walks you through the different. I had a really hard time with P&Ls for a long time. And now that I understand them, there's a lot more clarity in the decisions that I need to make and how to make them.
Right.
So I wanted to share that with everybody. And then everything you need to know about your balance sheet. That's another one that's a big one. I don't think most people look at their balance sheets. I think it's important to look at your balance sheet. And so all of the reasons why it's important is sitting in your members area for free. It's a good, I love talking about, I like talking, I know. I like talking about profits though.
Yes. Well, hope you got some value out of that. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to catching you next time.